Welcome aboard.
Welcome back into TCM Pod. Chris Mathis, Spencer Mathis. Glad that you guys have joined us yet again after an awesome episode last week. Actually, going on 2 weeks ago with Kyle Morlock, Florida State Seminole tight end, a guy who played at Division II, hit the transfer portal, had a good year there at Florida State. He told us all the ins and outs about the College Football Playoff Committee, really screwing over Florida State, playing for Mike Norvell, the whole 9 yards. It was a great conversation. You guys can go see our channel down below to check that out. But today's big news, we're talking Super Bowl 58, Spence. We've got the matchup. The San Francisco 49ers take on the Kansas City Chiefs after last week's AFC and NFC championship games between the Lions and the 49ers and the Chiefs and the Ravens. As we know, Lions went home losers. Ravens went home losers. A bit of a shock there for the Ravens, in my opinion, heading into that game. But all in all, we would not be here today talking Super Bowl 58, Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift against Patrick Mahomes and Brittany Mahomes. No, that doesn't line up. I should say with combination of those two against Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey there in San Francisco, technically Santa Clara. But before we talk about this Super Bowl 58 matchup, Spence, we do need to recap and get into what we saw last week in those divisional games, those conference championship games, as the Chiefs were able to win on the road 17-10 against Baltimore. All in all, truly a disappointing performance by the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson did not have his best game. I'm not sure exactly what the game plan was, but he didn't execute it. And then once he fell behind there, it felt like the game was over in the fourth quarter. He truly just threw the game away, literally and figuratively, threw an interception. You could tell he felt the pressure, slammed his helmet down. He let the moment get to him. And you know what? He's one of those guys. He's going to win his second MVP trophy, but I don't know. I thought if not this year, then I don't know when for a guy like Lamar Jackson there in Baltimore as they came up short AFC Championship game. Spence, your thoughts?
Yeah, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens offense folded. The defense played good, holding Kansas City to just 17 points. Obviously, Kansas City isn't the same offense that they've been, but their defense is very good. But I don't think they're 10 points against one of the best AFC teams. I think they are the best AFC team, at least heading into that game. So the fact that the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, this is year 5 for him now, I believe. He's won now, probably going to be 2 MVPs unless Christian McCaffrey does something crazy in the Super Bowl. They're going to say that doesn't have any effect on him winning the MVP. But if McCaffrey were to score 3 or 4 touchdowns in this Super Bowl, he may win MVP. But again, Lamar Jackson at the biggest moments in the biggest games just for some reason can't get it done. And I think the biggest thing for them was just Todd Monken and that offense losing their identity as a running team, because their team, one of the best rushing teams in the NFL for it seems like forever. Ever since that we've been watching the NFL, the Ravens have always had a good rushing attack, no matter who the running back is. I mean, Gus Edwards was running great this year. They ran the ball 6 times total on straight running back handoffs in that entire game. Only 2 design runs for Lamar Jackson. And I think that obviously I think Monken's a good offensive coordinator, but they after that fumble that Lamar Jackson had at his own 20-yard line and the Chiefs scored on that drive, the offense just thought that they were in fight mode. They were in fight or flight. They chose to fight, and they didn't do it in a good way. If they wanted to fight correctly, they would have continued to run the football. Instead, they threw the ball a lot in that game. Another thing in that game that I noticed is Lamar Jackson not using his legs as much as you would have liked. He would sit there for 5 to 7 seconds in the pocket without scrambling. He has open lanes. He would wait for somebody to get open, but his guys aren't getting open. He doesn't have anybody he can really throw the ball downfield to unless Mark Andrews is healthy, because these guys are not catch-in traffic type receivers there. Get the ball to them quick and let them run, like we saw with Zay Flowers in that game. And then again, that fumble at the goal line by Zay Flowers, that was the end of Baltimore this season. Obviously, on that same drive, you got a 15-yard taunting penalty after a crazy catch that backed him up to the 30-yard line. They get down to the 15. They throw it to him again, and he dives into the end zone with 2 defenders in front of him with the football out first. I mean, that's receiver 101 on what not to do, especially if you're 5'10" speed type receiver. If he's 6'5", he probably gets there before the cornerback Snead gets there. Instead, fumbles at the goal line, and that was the end for Baltimore. Again, I think this is a case of them not remembering who they are as a football team, and that was their downfall this year. And I still think they should have been the team out of the AFC to be in the Super Bowl. Instead, Patrick Mahomes gets another chance. That defense is buzzing, and we're going to get into that prediction later, but the Chiefs' defense is just really good this season. But I don't think they're 10 points to Baltimore good.
Yeah, I was totally shocked by the outcome of that football game. And I had the Ravens going against the 49ers since I think week 8 of the season. And then to see the Ravens just, as you say, change their identity offensively and go away from the run. As you said, 6 handoffs in that football game. Unbelievable that they played. They felt like they played from that far behind the entire game. It was ugly. It just wasn't their style of football. And really disappointing because I did want to see Lamar Jackson do it. And I'm not a huge Lamar Jackson fan, but this year I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm all in on Lamar Jackson to win it all. If not this year, then when? It's actually year 6 for Lamar. He's heading into year 7 next season. So 2 MVPs, unless something crazy happens here with McCaffrey, but I don't think that'll be the case. I'm still rocking with Lamar Jackson as this year's MVP. But all in all, frustrating game there. And Patrick Mahomes continues to prove to you why he is the best quarterback on the planet. I mean, he really is at this point. I'm not saying he's better than Tom Brady was in his career. In fact, Tom Brady has handed Patrick Mahomes 2 of his 3 postseason losses. Tom Brady still the ultimate quarterback, the greatest of all time in terms of success and win and trophies and accolades and history books, the whole 9 yards. But Patrick Mahomes right here, right now, is the best quarterback. And for him to do what he does with that offense, with those wide receivers, take Travis Kelce out of the equation. And even Kelce would admit this has not been his best year. He's had a good playoff run, but ultimately not a great year for Travis Kelce. For Travis Kelce, he still had a really good season, but when it comes to Travis Kelce and what you expect, it feels like the age has gotten up to him. It feels like he's a bit distracted until the playoffs when it mattered most. He stepped up and did the thing last week in the AFC title game. But the weapons that Patrick Mahomes have are not top tier, and to see him be able to do what he does, and yes, he does have a great defense, but to see him do what he does with that offense that's, in terms of weapons and wide receiver core, it's a little bit of a disappointment by no means, and that's no stretch of the imagination. It's just nothing great. And to see him do what he does just tells you a lot about him, the leader, the winner, the champion that he is. Big win there last week as they'll obviously get set for the 49ers here, Super Bowl 58 this upcoming Sunday. But on the flip side, NFC game, Spence, NFC championship game, Detroit Lions against the 49ers there in Santa Clara. The 49ers, they looked lost. They didn't have an answer. That's the thing. And the Lions played good football, but I think more so the first half, it was more of what the 49ers were not doing, and the Lions were just taking advantage of opportunities. The second half, it was the complete opposite. It was truly the flip of a switch, and it felt like the 49ers were just doing enough, and the Lions just threw that football game away. They had a 17-point lead at one point, end up losing the game 34-31. All in all, just an ugly performance there by Detroit and a real heartbreaker. But at the end of the day, they did make it to the NFC Championship game. They competed. They had a lead. That's a team that's obviously headed in the right direction with head coach Dan Campbell. But the 49ers, a much more talented team, they were able to overcome those issues early on in the game and win the football game. And that's what great teams do. They find a way to win no matter what the situation, no matter what the scenario is. And they were able to do so. They overcame so much. Brock Purdy did not have his best game, but was able to do just enough. 49ers prevail, winning by 3 at home. They were down 17 points, Spence. Obviously, the Lions, a disappointment, but 49ers, they were able to get it done, and they proved that they are the best team in the NFC.
Yeah, I mean, the Lions, a perfect first half, up 24-7 at halftime. And then the second half, everything went in the direction of the 49ers. I mean, from drop passes by some of their guys that hadn't dropped the ball basically at all this year. Jamison Williams had that huge 4th down and 2 drop. They had another 4th down and 5 that they really should have taken the field goal on. It was a culmination of all of the energy and momentum going in the direction of the San Francisco 49ers in the second half. And it was also not Dan Quinn, but Dan Campbell not taking his points whenever he should have. I mean, you're down by 3, 7 minutes to go, 4th down and I think 5. And obviously, the 49ers are going to send as much heat as they can at you. They send 6. They get Goff off his spot, and that was the end of the play. I mean, you saw him roll out 5 yards away. The ball landed from Amon-Ra St. Brown, and that was, at that point, I think a lot of people thought the game was over, and it basically was from there on out. But again, drop passes by the Lions, that crazy play by Brandon Ayuk that should have been intercepted by Detroit going straight off the face mask and hands of the Lions defender. San Fran got the ball inside the Lions 10-yard line, and that was whenever you would go on Twitter, you'd see everybody saying, hey, the flip has been switched. It looks like it's going to be another San Francisco 49ers, Kansas City
The
Chiefs.
switch has been flipped.
Yeah, the flip has been.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, we just totally flipped it, dude.
But I mean, as soon as that happened, it was like, okay, the momentum's in one team's favor. And it didn't go away from the 49ers for the rest of the game. It was just drop pass after drop pass. The offense for Detroit started to go three and out. I mean, that fumble to start the second half by Jahmyr Gibbs was just a huge play for San Francisco. And that's why whenever we get into predictions, I'm going to go with one team over the other one. But again, the Lions lost that game. I don't think San Fran did that much to win that game. I mean, obviously Brock Purdy went out there, they win the game. Go back and watch the game though. That 40-yard bomb to Brandon Ayuk should have been intercepted. It was 5 yards in front of the intended receiver, and it just bounced to him. A couple of other passes for Brock Purdy kind of makes me a little bit worried for him in the biggest game of the year, the Super Bowl, against the best defense in the NFL in the Kansas City Chiefs. But again, huge victory for San Francisco. Sad for the Detroit Lions, but again, Detroit has had a little bit too much success recently. Got to put them back at the bottom with Michigan just now winning the national championship just a couple of weeks ago. They deserve this. It's good that they got, two playoff wins. That's huge for them. But right back to the bottom, Detroit goes. And obviously, as you saw the post-game conference for the head coach of the Detroit Lions, Dan Campbell, he said, hey, I told the guys, I don't know if we're ever going to be back here because this is a one-time thing. I've seen it. A lot of people have seen it. A lot of fans have seen it. We saw that last year with the Philadelphia Eagles. They were one game ahead of the Detroit Lions in terms of they made it to the Super Bowl, almost beat the Kansas City Chiefs. But guess what? They lost in the wild card 31-9 to a team that would get bounced the next week, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So again, that could have been the only window for Detroit. Obviously, I don't think that's the case. I think they are a playoff caliber team heading forward. But again, this magical of a run probably isn't going to happen again for Detroit anytime soon. And the San Francisco 49ers won the game. Did they earn the game? I think they were handed the game through momentum, and I think that Dan Campbell's decision-making in that game was terrible. And that's why Detroit is going to watch the Super Bowl from their couches, and we're going to see San Francisco versus Kansas City in the rematch.
Yeah, so you have an issue there with Dan Campbell's decision making. I do only because of the game and how important it was to that game. But in all reality, that's why the Detroit Lions got there, is because he is so risky. He does have so much confidence in his offense to make plays, to convert very difficult fourth down situations, or situations in which, hey, most teams are going to take the points or most teams are going to try to punt it. He does go for it, and I think that's a lot of the reason why they got to that game last week. However, I think you have to be able to turn that switch off and think, hey, this is do or die. This is not, yes, this is how we got here. This is the recipe for how we got here. But now we're here. What does it take for me to win this football game? And I do think he made the wrong decisions, but I can't fault him because simply the fact that he did get there because of all of his decision-making along the way. It just was frustrating because let's be real. If he did get those calls, you're talking about a mastermind, a genius, and Dan Campbell. Instead, we're sitting here today like, man, Dan Campbell didn't have a great decision-making outing in that regard of, hey, against the 49ers, we have to win this football game. Instead, he made a couple of bad, risky decisions. So it does stink that he was unable to realize, hey, this is do or die. Let me take the points. Instead, he tried to go for it over and over again, and it just didn't work. But I understand the philosophy because that's who he was. And he didn't, unlike the Ravens, he didn't change his game plan. He didn't change his identity for the playoff game. And ended up, both teams lost. The Ravens changed, they lose. The Detroit Lions did not change, they lose. So it all comes down to in the moment and game-like scenarios in which, hey, what is the best decision here? And I don't think Dan Campbell made any of them.
Yeah, but you gotta look at it like this: 24-7. They're driving into San Francisco territory at the 25-yard line. First drive of the third quarter for Detroit, and they have a chance to continue to keep the momentum because momentum's a real thing. If you kick that field goal, you're up 27-7. You're up by 20 points instead of the 17 points, nearly 3 scores. And instead, Dan Campbell went for it. Obviously, a drop pass. That was the drop pass, okay? I was with him with that decision. I didn't care too much. But once we got to the 7-minute mark of that game, and you could feel the game turning in San Francisco's favor for the entirety of the fourth quarter up to that point. 7 minutes left, a chance to tie it on a 44-yard field goal, and you go for it on 4th down and 5, and you don't get it. And then even there, I was like, okay, this isn't too bad of a decision. Obviously, you're still only down by 3 points. Then we get down to crunch time. There's a minute 10 left. They get down into San Francisco territory. Inside the 10-yard line, they're at the San Francisco 49ers 5-yard line, first down or second down, and they hand the ball off to Jahmyr Gibbs against a loaded front of 8 guys in the box. And for some reason, Dan Campbell was like, hey, we got to regroup. We need to use a timeout. That's the game. Because the probability of recovering an onside kick in today's day and age is almost impossible. They've changed that rule so much over the last 10 years that I can't remember the last time I've seen a successful onside kick in a moment that mattered. And obviously, we weren't going to see one in the NFC Championship, and we didn't. And a big part of that game, I think the biggest part of that game, a lot of people are going to say, hey, Dan Campbell is the reason with those decision making that they made it to that point. But guess what? In those situations, they didn't need to do that. And that's why they lost the game. And it ends up coming down on Dan Campbell's shoulder. Got to like him as a head coach, as a leader of men. But sometimes you just got to put down you got to put down what you've been doing all year in the biggest parts of the games. It's not like if you're a quarterback and you've been throwing the football downfield over and over again this year, you lead the league in the furthest passes as touchdowns, and the defense starts to adjust to that, and you continue to fire downfield, you're going to get intercepted over and over again. And the 49ers came into that game knowing the Lions were going to go for it on fourth downs. They were ready for those fourth down calls. They had probably seen one of those fourth down calls before, and I'm pointing back to that Amon-Ra St. Brown fourth down and 5 that they didn't get. And I think San Francisco was ready for it. And I think that Detroit should have known that after that fourth down and 2 to start the third quarter that they didn't get. After that fumble to Jahmyr Gibbs, though, you start taking points from there on out because there's no reason to run the risk. Campbell decided to run the risk, and that was the end of the game. And the biggest fault for me, though, by Dan Campbell was that timeout with a minute remaining, and that was the end of the game. You have 2 timeouts. You give the ball back to San Francisco with, under 50 seconds? That's the game over. And obviously, the 49ers aren't going to squander an easy situation to win the game like that. But again, I think the Lions handed that NFC Championship to the San Francisco 49ers. Same thing. Mama thought the exact same thing as we were watching it with her, me and Nia, and that was exactly what we saw. We saw them continue to make boneheaded decision after boneheaded decision, and that's why we're not going to get to see a new Super Bowl matchup. We're going to get to see one that we saw in 2019. And guess what? Last time we saw this matchup, what happened the next year?
What happened?
COVID-19. This cannot be.
Oh my.
So it's just not a good matchup. And obviously NFL fans aren't excited about it because we know what's on the frontier for 2024 now. And
no, we're not getting none of that. We're good. We're good.
That's it.
All right. Well, we'll find out, Spence. That's very bold of you. I hope you're wrong. I think you're wrong, but I also see what you're saying. These two teams did play just before COVID happened, changed the world. The world will never be the same. It is not the same. But enough of that. So, Spence, you talk about the onside kicks and how successful, what the success rate of an NFL onside kick. Do you have any guess as to what percentage you have success rates in the NFL when trying to recover your own onside kick?
From what year to what year? Is this all time or is this
This is just right now. This is just right now. NFL rule changes with the new NFL rule changes in which a running start for the kicking team could line up before the kick, citing safety concerns. The result is now teams have a what percent chance to recover their own onside kick?
9% chance.
3.2. 3.2. Now, they did have a onside kick recovered earlier this season. Matt Prater with the Cardinals, November 2nd, 2023. But that was the lone one of the season, if I'm not mistaken. Again, 3.2% to recover an onside kick in the NFL now with the rules. Unbelievable. But, hey, that's really the only option he had there. You got to at least try it. So you can't fault him in that regard. But he shouldn't have been in that position to begin with. All right, Super Bowl 58, 49ers, Chiefs. Big game. Las Vegas, going to be exciting. Obviously, we have an interesting spread here, too. We'll get more into it. I've got some prop bets for you guys as well to follow along. Comment down below with your prop bets because there are some interesting ones that we will get into here in just a few moments. But, Spence, first and foremost, with this matchup, what's your expectation as far as what kind of Super Bowl will we see? The 49ers beat the Lions after being down by 17 points last week. The Chiefs upset the Ravens on the road. In my opinion, an upset. What's your expectation here for this game on Sunday?
Yeah, I saw the spread as 2 points favorites for San Francisco to win this game. And if Georgia allows sports betting in any capacity, I would put money on the Kansas City Chiefs because I don't think the Chiefs are going to make the same decisions that the Detroit Lions did last week. That Chiefs defense is so good. They've done it a couple of times now. Mahomes has won 2 Super Bowls. He's been on the losing end as well. He's lost an AFC Championship game, but he's won so many already for Kansas City. This is a team that's been there, done that. San Francisco, last time they made it was 2019. Who did they lose to? Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes. And again, That game was San Francisco handing the game to Kansas City. If you can remember, 10-point lead for San Francisco in that game with I think a couple of minutes remaining in the third quarter. They ended up squandering that one with Jimmy Garoppolo. Obviously, new quarterback in town is Brock Purdy, but can Brock Purdy handle the pressure that Steve Spagnuolo is going to put on him as a second-year quarterback? I'm going to say no. I don't think he can. I've got the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Oh, wait. Hang on. Hang on. We haven't given out the line or the over-under yet. Hang on just a second. So we're going to save that for all of you. We'll get into that here in just a moment. I know you guys are now all itching to hear why and what the score might be for Spencer. So this year, I'm going to craft a game for my girlfriend and I because she does like football, but not to the extent that she'd sit there and watch any and every game by herself. You know, she'll watch it with me, obviously, and she'll watch the Super Bowl, or at least up until the halftime show. But I've crafted a game. I'm going to put together like 18 to 20 different things. Like, hey, what's the first song that Usher will perform at the halftime show? She can pick any song that she thinks is it. Another one is, hey, what's the color of the Gatorade that gets poured on the game-winning coach? Will they flash to Taylor Swift during the national anthem? If so, how many times? How many viewers will watch the Super Bowl? Stuff like that. And then there'll be some more game-related stuff, as in how many yards for Patrick Mahomes over under this number, things of that nature. And then the winner, whoever gets more right than the other, gets a prize, like a date from the other. So if my girlfriend beats me, I'm going to take her out on a date. If I beat her, she's taking me out on a date. She's supposed to be working on that prize here today for me. But anyway, so that's a cool way to get everybody involved. Before we get into the prop bets, you know what? Wait, we're going to save that prediction you got, Spencer, because obviously they have a good feeling that you're going to say Kansas City Chiefs. We'll get into that here momentarily, but here are some prop bets, and then I'll talk about the game as well, which I'm very excited about. But I'm going to pull up this right here. This is courtesy of Bet Online AG regarding the Super Bowl and some prop bets, and these are some interesting prop bets for you guys. This is what makes, and these are actual bets that you can bet on if you're living in a state that allows betting. Here's one: Jason Kelce to do first during a CBS broadcast of the Super Bowl. More likely that he has man boobs, takes his shirt off. That's the favorite, minus 150, or shotgun and chugging a beer, plus 110. Spence, which one are you taking?
I'm going to go shotgun and chugging a beer in the Super Bowl. I think he's going to have a little bit more etiquette than he did whenever he went to Buffalo with those fans. I think it's a different atmosphere. I don't think he wants to be the lone guy with his shirt off, because got to remember, the people going to the Super Bowl are just a bunch of suits. These are guys, for the most part, that aren't real fans of these teams. They just want to go watch an event. The cheapest ticket is in the thousands of dollars. The average fan isn't going to make it to these games. So I think Jason Kelce's going to go with shotgun a beer and chug it in front of the fans.
In my opinion, that's exactly why Jason Kelce will do the opposite, and he'll take his shirt off. He'll flash you and flash the CBS broadcast on television. All right, here's another one. Over under total viewership, Spencer. Over under 117.5 million viewers.
Over. The numbers go up every single year. It's going to be over. And even if it's not, they're going to report it as it being the most viewed NFL broadcast of all time.
I'm going to go over as well, simply because of the fact, yes, it is the Super Bowl. Arguably the greatest quarterback right now in the game. He is the greatest, in my opinion. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift there as well. Then you've got Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, who all these young athletes look up to. Hey, this guy wasn't supposed to do anything great. Last pick in the NFL draft. Here he is doing the thing. And they're all pulling for him. Christian McCaffrey, Andy Reid, obviously on the other side. Kyle Shanahan, former offensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons. Man, Atlanta Falcon fans probably upset over this one too. Here are some national anthem specials and prop bets for the Super Bowl here, Super Bowl 58. Who will be seen first during the national anthem of these two players? Christian McCaffrey, plus one favorite, or 150, not the favorite, or Travis Kelce, minus 200. He's the favorite to be shown. Of those two, who do you think gets shown during the national anthem?
Give me Christian McCaffrey. I think he's going to be a little bit more emotional than Kelce. Give me McCaffrey. Ooh. He hasn't been there. We may see a tear run down his face like we saw with that Broncos running back.
No Sean Marino.
That they ended up getting smacked by the Seattle Seahawks. So hopefully for McCaffrey's sake, that isn't going to be the case. But I feel like maybe a tear might fall down, and that will be the first one. Also, he looks like Captain America, so give me the most patriotic guy to show first. during the national anthem over Travis Kelce, who I think is not the same level of Captain America that Christian McCaffrey is.
Let's talk, speaking of obviously being patriotic, let's talk about the national anthem. The length of Brave during the national anthem, over under 3.5 seconds, Spencer. The over is the favorite, minus 150. The under, plus 110.
Over.
You think over?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't.
Yeah,
I'm going to go under just for the heck of it. For the hell of it, I'm going under.
Also, remember who's in the Super Bowl right now, though? It's the Kansas City Chiefs. So we're going to end up hearing the home of and everybody's going to cheer Chiefs with them. So I'm feeling a 4-second Brave/Chief going on in that game.
All right, here we go. Super Bowl 58 coin toss outcome. Heads, minus 105. Tails, minus 105. It's a 50-50 split.
Heads.
Taking heads. I'm going with tails because it never fails. You guys can comment down below. This is always fun because anybody, whether you're a casual NFL fan, not even really casual, or you're a diehard fan, everybody can relate to these. You guys can all place bets on these things. Moving on now, just a few more. Let's see here. All right, Super Bowl records, single game Super Bowl records. Any player to score 4 more touchdowns, plus 1,000. Any player to have 205 or more rushing yards, plus 2,200. Any player to have 216 or more receiving yards, plus 2,500. Any player to throw 7 or more passing touchdowns, plus 4,000. Or any player to have 506 passing yards, plus 12,500.
I hope we see the last two, but I think we've only seen one quarterback go near that in the Super Bowl, and that was Tom Brady in the loss to the Philadelphia Eagles in 2017. I don't think that Mahomes is going to do that against a pretty good defense that the San Francisco 49ers have, and I would be willing to bet my entire existence as a person that Brock Purdy does not throw for 7 touchdowns or 500 yards in that game. So I don't think either of those will happen. Is the 4 touchdowns for one player, could that be the quarterback?
I'm thinking so because it didn't specify. So me personally, yes, I would say yes.
I'll take that one out of any of them because the rushing one's so hard to get. Receiving, I don't think any of these guys have a receiver that could do that. And obviously the Chiefs have Rashee Rice. I think he's very good. I think Deebo Samuel could get close, but none of those guys are going over 200 in the biggest game of the year.
Yeah, no, I think that it'll be fun to watch here. Okay, let's do 1 or 2 more. All right, let's go with player prop bets here. Okay, continuing to check. I mean, this is so crazy. You could go Brock Purdy, first pass completion direction, left, plus 140, right, plus 190, middle, plus 225.
Is that where we're going right now?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you could do that.
I'm going to go roll out to the right side and dump it off to Kittle or McCaffrey on the first play of the game.
Okay. All right. Here we go. I like that. I'm going to go middle. I'm going to go right across the middle to George Kittle. All right. Over under 259.5 passing yards for Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I could go over with that one. That's an easy over. I think whenever I get into the predictions, this is going to be a lot more high scoring than at least we saw with the Ravens in the Chiefs game last week. So give me over on that one for Patrick Mahomes, over 270.
Over under 1.5. I'm going to go over as well. I think he'll have close to 300. Over under 1.5 passing touchdowns. And if you aren't too familiar with how betting works in sports, over under means, hey, here's the number. If you're going to say he's going to have more than one, you're going to say over 1.5. If you think, hey, he's going to have 1 or fewer, you think under 1.5. Over under 1.5 passing touchdowns for Brock Purdy.
Yeah, give me the over. I think it's pretty easy for him to throw touchdowns with some of these guys that are so good running the football in space. Obviously, that's no knock on Brock Purdy. You have Deebo Samuel, you have Kittle, you have Christian McCaffrey. These guys are people that can just run 30 yards past anybody on the football field. So give me over on that one. Obviously, it's a lot harder to throw a touchdown in the Super Bowl, and we've seen that with Patrick Mahomes in his career. You look at the Super Bowl numbers compared to the playoff numbers, his touchdown passes aren't very high. I believe in that Chiefs 49ers Super Bowl just 2 years ago, Mahomes, or 4 years ago now, Mahomes only threw 1 or 2 passing touchdowns, maybe not even 2. I remember he ran in one. So I'm still going to go over with Brock Purdy in that one.
I'm going to go with the over as well. He's going to have to play really good football, and we'll get into that as to why I believe that here in just a few moments. Spencer, over, under. Now, Christian McCaffrey, obviously a star player that everyone likes to watch. This guy gets better each and every season. That's the weird part. This guy gets better, and I know his supporting cast has gotten better year after year, but this guy seems like he stays healthier as time's gone on. He's putting up bigger numbers. He's utilized there well in San Francisco. Over under 89.5 rushing yards, 89.5 for Christian McCaffrey.
Give me the under. I think they're going to have to throw the ball a lot. I think that this team is going to be playing from behind for a good majority of the game. Now, do I think that they're going to be playing behind the entire game? No. But give me the under in that one, 89.5. I think he's going to have probably 70-something yards rushing, maybe even get to 100 yards receiving in this game with how many checkdowns they're going to try to get to McCaffrey. So give me the under in rushing yards, under 89.5.
You know what, man? This is one of those games where I think they're going to be playing from behind, as you mentioned, for a good bit of the game, in my opinion. That means that they're not going to run the football. Now, he might be utilized out of the backfield, tossing him the rock, and I could see a lot of that, but I'll take the under there. Here's an interesting one. Over under 12.5 rushing yards for Mr. Relevant, Brock Purdy.
Over. He ran for 50 yards last week.
Dude, he's sneaky at I don't know if athletics the word, but he's sneaky. Maybe it is. Maybe he is sneaky athletic. And I don't think he's a game manager either. I'm not going to say he's always a game changer, but I think he's more than a game manager.
Yeah, the meme where he's the first one in, last one out mentality, coach's son, has the grit, has the sneaky athleticism. That fits Brock Purdy more than anybody in NFL history. I think he's sneaky athletic. I think he's first one in, last one out, coach's son type player. So give me over 12 in that one pretty easily in terms of rushing yards. And I mean, 50 yards rushing last week against Detroit was crazy. And he looked good in that one running the football. He was out running some defenders for 20-yard gains. So I think he'll be able to do that in the Super Bowl. I don't think he's going to go for 50. I think he'll go for 20 to 30 in that one. But I think that one's probably the easiest one for me to take at this point.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I also will go over. I think he'll probably get 24, 25. All right, let's go with a little Taylor Swift. Let's do 3 more, and then we'll get right into our predictions here. Let's go with continuing to check. All right, Taylor Swift, primary color of her top at the Super Bowl. We'll go with the top 4 options. Red, the favorite, minus 500. Black, plus 500. White, plus 600. Yellow, plus 800. Now, the Chiefs, they are wearing red, right?
Yeah. No, Chiefs are wearing white. Chiefs are wearing white.
Chiefs wearing white.
Yeah. Huh. I'm pretty sure Chiefs are wearing white because it's the same matchup as, you know what? No, it's Chiefs red, 49ers white, top.
Chiefs are red, yep.
So give me the red all day, and that's I think we could see maybe a little bit of white in there, but the primary's got to be red. So give me red with the what? Minus 600 or minus
500 as the favorite. Yeah. I'm going to go, man, I don't know. I think she's going to change it up. I'm going to go with the black plus 500. I think she'll have red lipstick, maybe some red face paint. I don't know, but I'm going to go with the black top. All right, let's go with, all right, here's the last one. Taylor Swift to be in the stadium for opening kickoff. And she's coming off a crazy flight, man. She's got a show in Tokyo, has like an 18-hour flight. Like, it is going to be very difficult. However, she does have a private jet, as we'd imagine. She does have connections. But to be there for kickoff, it's one thing, just be there at some point. But to be there for kickoff, that's the favorite minus 2,000. Are you going to say she'll be there for opening kickoff?
Yeah.
All right, write it down. All right, I'm going to go with yes as well, but I think it'd be pandemonium if she was there after kickoff, just by a hair, like showed up late, like, oh, yeah.
Hey, for her sake, though, if she wants to get some more fans, that would be the thing to do because they're going to be following her. You know how we see before the games, we see the player intros, whenever they're walking in the stadium with their sunglasses and suits on. We're going to see Taylor Swift running up the corridor out to the stadium and maybe even go straight onto the field and give Kelsey a hug, and that would be probably the biggest bet to happen. But, you know, I'm going to put probably $50 on her being late. And so give me Taylor Swift late. I'm going back. I'm changing.
Taylor Swift will be late to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Wow, that is hot right there for her boyfriend's Super Bowl game.
Hey, he didn't make it. He's not making it to the Grammys, so maybe some bad blood there. Maybe she's upset with him. Maybe she doesn't want to see the first half. Maybe she's superstitious if she watches the first quarter of the game. The Chiefs aren't good. I think she comes in, she makes an entrance right at the end of the first quarter, into the second, and for the rest of the game, they show Taylor Swift 20 times.
Wow, that's hot, man. That's real hot. So Taylor Swift, if she does that, she's going to look at Travis after the game and say, look what you made me do.
Yep.
I was late, you know. Bad blood, I don't know. You know, if you need a teardrop or if you need a guitar for me to cry teardrops on, that works too. All right. let's move on now. Let's talk about the game in particular. Let's look at the spread here for this game, Spencer Bowl, Super Bowl 58, as we've got the over-under set at 47.5 points, Spence. The 49ers 2-point favorites against the Chiefs in this game.
Yeah, I'm gonna go just over that. Give me just over on the spread.
What's your score? Give me your okay. So you're saying at least 48 points. What's your score and who wins?
I'm hoping this game gets into the 30s. I'm hoping it gets to the 40s. I'm hoping both defenses go out the window and we see an offensive affair. But is that going to happen? I'm going to say no. Give me the Kansas City Chiefs in this game, 27-24 on a last-second field goal made by Harrison Butker to put top and give Mahomes his third Super Bowl. But guess what? Last week I was a Lions fan. Last week I was a Ravens fan. Who did I pick in those games? I picked the Kansas City Chiefs to win, and I picked the San Francisco 49ers to win. This week, I'm a San Francisco 49er fan, but who am I picking to win? The Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to take Kansas City 27-24. Last second, Harrison Butker puts it through the uprights. It leans right, but it goes just through, squeaks just through, maybe even a doinking in to win this. And the Chiefs win this one. Mahomes rides off into the sunset for his third Super Bowl, comes back next year, might even do it again, back-to-back for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs on two teams that did you think they were going to win back-to-back Super Bowls? Definitely not, but Mahomes is going to do it. Give me Mahomes with his third and Travis Kelce with number 3 for him as well.
Yeah, Spence, I'm going to also agree with you there. I got the Kansas City Chiefs. Here's why. I mean, you look at the matchups, and the Chiefs have dominated the 49ers over the last 6 matchups. And then in addition to that, when it comes down to it, I am a numbers guy. I am an analytics guy, but not when it comes to decision-making, just based on history. But when you talk about this Kansas City Chiefs team, they've allowed 28 points or less in all 20 games this season. That's impressive. That's the most in NFL history. Now, the 4 previous teams to do 19 games, which was the prior record, the 2000 Ravens, the 2002 Buccaneers, the 2005 Steelers, the 2010 Packers, and in addition to that, you look at what the Kansas City Chiefs have done this year. It's Patrick Mahomes. I can't bet against Patrick Mahomes. He's proven me wrong. Now, he struggled against Tom Brady in the playoffs. 2 of his 3 playoff losses have come to Tom Brady. Tom Brady is no longer in the league. He's out of the equation. He's not there. We won't see this after the game where, Brady ends Patrick Mahomes' season. That's impossible. I think I'm taking the over of 48 points. I'm going to go 34-30. Kansas City prevails. Patrick Mahomes wins again, and the Chiefs are victorious. I don't know. Maybe Travis Kelce proposes after the game. I'm not sure, but I'm going with the Chiefs to win.
Yeah, and another big part of that game is that a bet? Is the Travis Kelce proposing after the Super Bowl victory a bet? One more side note that I wanted to add there. You said Brady is one of the only quarterbacks he's ever lost to. He's lost 2 of his 3 playoff games to Tom Brady. The other one, Joe Burrow. I think that Patrick Mahomes only loses to quarterbacks that have good aura. And Doug Purdy, are you scared of Brock Purdy when you see him? I'm going to say, I think, hey, he looks like a good high school quarterback if I were to see him in public. But guess what? He's in the NFL. He's 5'10". They may list him at 6 foot. He's definitely not. He looks so small. Does he have good aura? Is he Joe Burrow? Is he Tom Brady? Not even close in my opinion. And that's another big factor that I'm putting into this game. Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes have all the momentum. They've viewed themselves as the underdogs this whole year, and they're going to the Super Bowl. Guess what? Underdogs for no reason. Why are they underdogs? We don't know, but they are. That's why Kansas City is going to win this one, 27-24 next Sunday. It's going to be fun atmosphere. I do think it'll be a great game, but for me, it's going to be tough that I already know the outcome of the game. That's the hard part for me, predicting all these games, getting them all right throughout the whole year. Is there's no suspense for me because I know who's going to win these games, and I was right last 2 weeks, and here we are again. I'm going to be right again. It's going to be tough. I didn't put any bets on the Pro Bowl that's happening later tonight, though, so that'll be interesting. Who's going to win the Pro Bowl this year with Eli Manning going? Yeah. I think all eyes are more on that game than this Super Bowl game that's coming up next. Again, give me my bet. It's going to be tough. I'll be watching it with Carson, Lisa, my girlfriend Nia, and it's tough to know that I already know who's going to win. I'm not going to spoil it for him. I don't know if any of those people are going to watch the podcast. I won't spoil it for him. I'm not going to ruin it. But in the background, I'll be sitting there going,
"Oh yeah,
that's exactly
what I called. I knew this." All right, guys, leave your predictions down below. Comment, share it, like this video, subscribe, follow us on Twitter at LSavageSpence, at the Chris Mathis. We do appreciate you guys, and we will talk to you soon.